Hello, and today we'll continue with the Taste of Fire. Our lives must have been even more drastically different than I first thought. He must have seen and experienced so many things that I haven't even dreamed of. What was it like? Not having these bridges? No. Despite my annoyed tone, I chuckled his cheeky smirk. I meant, what was it like to grow up as a noble? Oh, I'd really rather not talk about it, Sam. But, Sam, he's no longer smiling now, his voice carrying a hint of warning, and so I finally relent. I'm not done answering questions, not by a long shot, but it's clear that Valos won't be answering them right now. Alright, I apologize. I did not mean to pry. Thank you. We are both silent as we get dressed. So I assume that Herschel won't be needing me today either? I believe that to be correct, which is why I think we should take advantage of the opportunity. You said you wanted me to teach you the fight yesterday. Are you still willing? Yeah, I am. But here? Valos eyes up the room thoughtfully. We're not exactly cramped here, given that the dragon has plenty of room to sleep on the floor despite his size and the presence of the Lord's bed. Ideally, I'd take you out to the local training grounds or perhaps the forest beyond the settlement. He raises a hand up before I can voice my objections. I know I'd rather not risk you being seen right now either, which means that this will have to do. The room is spacious enough, and I will not be teaching you anything that requires more than that yet. Before that, however, I want to make sure you are not in pain anymore, yes? I'll simply fine. Do not worry. It takes a moment to gauge whether or not I'm lying, then, seemingly satisfied, Nas begins rummaging through his belongings. Shortly afterwards, he produces a short yet ornate dagger. It casts the light from outside for a second, giving off a bright shine from its polished blade. The handle is wrapped in dark leather, and the guard is shaped like two tiny dragon heads staring in opposite sides. I chuckle a little at that. The dagger looks quite small in Val's hands, but when he gives it to me, it feels just right in my palm. I turn it over and over, examining it. Not that I know the first thing about smithing to be able to judge the craftsmanship. The local blacksmith in Alwood didn't care for me, so I never got a chance to learn anything from him. Prick. I don't believe I had given a single reason to dislike me. I think he just found the orphans annoying. Regardless, the dagger feels pretty good in my hand. The cold metal warms quickly at my touch, and while it is a little heavier than it looks, the edge of the blade is sharp and well maintained. So, let's begin with the grip. I know how to hold a knife, Valos. Dagger, and he suddenly lashes out, jabbing me in the forearm, taking me completely by surprise. As I quickly retract my arm, the dagger falls, lodging itself in the floorboards. Ow. Valos crosses his arms, giving me a serious look. See how easy it was to disarm you? You surprised me. Even if I hadn't, your grip was all wrong. The result would have been the same. I grumbled under my breath a little as I retrieved the dagger. Alright, point taken. We start with the grip. The dragon nods seriously and steps towards me. He puts his hand on me, adjusting my grip finger by finger. I felt heat creeping onto my cheeks at this kind of touch, not something I'm used to, not even remotely. No, that's all wrong. He's just teaching me how to wield a weapon. Why am I being stupid about this? It takes me a moment to realize that Valos is speaking to me. I quickly clear my throat and focus my mind on his explanation. Once that's over with, he gets me to try out some simple slashes and jabs with a weapon. I can't help but feel a little silly as I swing it around aimlessly. Valos claims it's just to get me used to its weight. Not much to get used to there, but I'm not about to question him again. Finally, he steps back, nodding. Now, about that stance. What about? Just as unexpectedly as before, Val's heavy tail collides with my legs, sweeping them from from right under me. I crashed to the floor with a heavy thud, landing right on my behind. Ow! What was that for? Valos rushes over to me, concern painted on his face. He gently pulls me up, then quizzes away at my anger. I'm sorry. The dragon who trained me wasn't very gentle. I picked up some bad habits. I'm really sorry about that. I hope you are not hurt. I want my bottom while glaring at the dragon before huffing and holding up the dagger. I will live. Sorry. And it's fine. I guess I should have expected that. Valos is clearly about to apologize again, but Wicked stares at my annoyed grunt and steps behind me instead. I turn to his approach, but instead of trying to trip me again, he goes about adjusting my stance like he did my grip, only even more gently this time, as if I am made of glass. I try to focus despite the way he's looming over me. That becomes much harder to do once he pushes his body against my back so he can adjust the way I am holding up the arm with the dagger. I can feel his powerful chest muscles brushing up against me, his snout hovering right above my shoulder while he grips me lightly at the forearm. Are you getting tired, Sam? It sounds like you're winded. Of course I'm breathing heavily. You can't just stand right behind me like that and expect me not to react. Not at all. To my relief, mixed with just a little bit of disappointment, Valos retreats and I turn to face him. Alright, that should do it. Just remember what I showed you just now. I will be watching. His tail does a slow, sweeping motion, and despite falling victim to it not so long ago, I laugh. I will make sure to give you no openings like that. Good. Next we should work on the strikes more, with the aiming such. And I suppose some training in unarmed combat wouldn't go every in case you ever lose that. He pulls at the dagger. Do you need to be very good at unarmed combat? You can breathe fire after all. It's true that I have more natural weapons than humans, but that would be a last resort. Have you ever had to use fire like that? Valos gives me a strange look before shaking his head. No, never. I'm quite proficient with my sword. Yeah, I remember, back in the forest. You defeated that bandit pretty easily. Valos shrugged indifferently. I stared down at the dagger. He didn't teach me much yet, but despite landing on my ass and getting suddenly hit in the arm, I'm looking forward to continuing the lessons. Shall we? At my nod, Val plants himself in front of me, using himself as an example of where I should be aiming my strikes. None of that is a surprise, but I listened carefully anyway. It's been some time explaining how to deal with armor, as well the vulnerabilities I could exploit to slide my dagger in between overlapping plates and such. Now that is far more interesting, but I quickly get overwhelmed. I suppose it would be easier if I had access to armor so I could actually show you. A consideration for another time. The bustle on the plaza outside reaches its peak as Valos continues his lesson. Seeing as how there's no training dummy I can practice on, we move on to unarmed combat. Valos reiterates that none of this is something I can even remotely master in a day, but it's good to have at least some idea of what I'm doing. With any luck, I'll get more lessons in the future. The dragon seems surprised that I can throw a punch. I suppose he hasn't lived in a village where minor brawls between youngsters are a common sight. I'm far from helpless when it comes to dealing with other humans. It's a beastman that would give me trouble. Case in point, Valos uses his advantage in sheer mass to easily push me around, although he then takes the time to explain how I could use my small size and greater speed to my advantage. By the time Herschel comes knocking to complain about all the racket coming from the room, I'm sweaty and tired, but realizing that I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. I wouldn't mind more lessons like this, that's for certain. Herschel has been bringing me a wooden basin with water that I've been using to clean up, but that won't cut it this time. I glance over at Valos, who's busy putting his stuff away. Again, he doesn't sweat. Obviously, it doesn't look particularly tired either, although that is hardly surprising. I will need a bath after this. The dragon pauses, turning to me and giving me a once over that has me stiff uncomfortably, then nods. I could use one as well. Take a breather. I'm going to ask Herso about it. At my nod, he leaves the room, and I'm left with my thoughts, which turned immediately to the way Val's body was pressed up against me mere minutes ago as he adjusted my arm position yet again. There's an odd warmth to the scales, far from the coarse, cold sensation that one would expect at a glance. He said he needs a bath too, and before I have a chance to stop myself, my mind is busy imagining just that. Valos completely in the nude, standing in front of me. Just as quickly I shake my head to banish the thoughts. I'm just still reeling from the extended close contact we had, as if Valos was completely nonchalant about it, as if there was nothing awkward or unusual. Of course he'd be correct. It was just a training session. Everything else is entirely a product of my overzealous imagination. Yes, that and the fact that I haven't been able to attend to my needs in some time now, that does things to a man. Things like the question of the appearance of Val's nether regions pose itself to me completely unbidden. He has undressed in front of me before when he was preparing to sleep in a corner, but never fully. I must admit that I've been curious this whole time. I know that some beastmen are built differently than us humans, especially when it comes to down there. I doubt dragons would be different. Except it doesn't matter in the slightest, because I am certain Valos would have no interest in nobody like me gawking at him in that way. What is wrong with me? I've been cooped up in this room for too long. Worst of all, with someone who I have to admit to myself I find very attractive. For once, I actually hear Valos approaching the door. Before it opens, I realize that I had begun pacing around the room. Well, while my mind was running wild, and I quickly take my seat again. Herso follows him inside, smiling pleasantly. I'm told the two of you are looking to bathe. I simply nod. Well, as I just told Valos, there's a bathhouse in the town, but I doubt you will be open to going there if we don't offer that at the inn. However, I happen to know a spot in the forest nearby that hosts a wonderful hot spring that you could use. I raise my eyebrows and exchange a quick glance with Valos. Would that be any different from going to the bathhouse? It is, for the most part. Me and some friends of mine who know about the location, we like to keep it that way. Even if it wasn't, it's a little too far to be of everyday use, but not far enough that the journey would be tedious for either of you. I'm willing to bet that you will find it unoccupied. I bite my lip and mull it over. Alright, should we go at night then? No. I would rather not be walking through the forest that late. I think we should leave now. We could throw on the hood and walk in my saddle. We peek out the window. The sun is still hours away from setting, and the plaza is still busy with beastmen. On the other hand, from what Herso has explained to me on the first day I found myself here, the path to the forest shouldn't be all that difficult to navigate without being noticed. Alright, shall we go? Valos smiles and nods, and Herso explains how to get to the spring, then leaves and quickly returns with an oversized cloak with a hood. I put it on, conscious of how ridiculous I must look with a garment of this size hanging off my frame. Now I want to complain about it, though. Before we head out, Valos hands me the leather sheath in which he hid the dagger earlier, warning me to keep it close at hand at all times in case of danger. A little surprised he would just give it to me like that. I nevertheless secure it at my belt, nodding gratefully at the dragon. With that, we leave through the back entrance with me, keeping my eyes trained on the stones below my feet while Valos guides us out. I think my lucky I put it on, conscious of how ridiculous I must look with a garment of this size hanging off my frame. Not about to complain about it, though. Before we head out, Valos hands me the leather sheath in which he hid the dagger earlier, warning me to keep it close at hand at all times in case of danger. A little surprised he would just give it to me like that, I nevertheless secure it at my belt, nodding gratefully at the dragon. With that, we leave through the back entrance, with me keeping my eyes trained on the stones below my feet while Valos guides us out. I thank my lucky stars when we finally emerge into the forest with no accident. Once I'm confident we're well out of sight of anyone from the town, I let the hood fall, breathing in the glorious fresh air. I was never one for outdoors, and my last trek through the woods has left me a little scarred, in body and mind, but I can't deny how great it feels to be outside after so many days being stuck in that stuffy room. I let Valos wander a little ahead of me as I take in the sounds, the chirping of the birds, the wind brushing through the leaves, animals skittering through the underbrush below. A squirrel is hopping from branch to branch, stopping here and there to stare around, its whiskers twitching. I follow its journey with an amused gaze until it disappears from sight. Quickening my step, I catch up to the dragon, who glances at me curiously. Feeling well? Yes, happy to be out of that inn, to be honest. No, injuries or no, it is nice to stretch my legs a little. Valos chuckles as we step into a small meadow full of sky blue flowers swaying gently in the wind. The forest beyond grows a little denser, sunlight filtering pleasantly through the thick foliage, more than enough to illuminate the way, but not so much as to become unpleasant on the skin. At that thought, I turn my head to the dragon. Can I ask some questions? About what? Just wondering some things about you. Well, dragons, I mean. Oh, that's where I can see his shoulders twitch a little. That causes me to hesitate, as I'm unsure if he finds these inquiries irritating. I don't believe I've asked many questions these past few days, occupied as I was with the book Herschel had given me. He doesn't object, however, so I finally speak up again. I was just wondering what bathing is like for you, since you are covered in skills like that. His posture seems relaxed as he gives me a restrained smile. Just like it works for you, I imagine. We have to wash away the grime and dirt. Not like your skin, no? I see, but what does it feel like? I've never really given it much thought. Normal, I suppose. The scales simply cover over the flesh and not perfectly so. There are no impenetrable armor. He tilts his head at me, and I suddenly become conscious of the way I've been staring at him while I was asking my questions. The dragon suddenly rounds on me, a smirk playing at his lips, and I freeze in my tracks. If you're so curious, just go ahead and see for yourself. He extends his arms toward me. I finally take a step back. You can see what it feels like if you want. I have touched you before. He lowers his arm a little, but the smirk does not disappear. In fact, it grows wider. Clearly it was not enough, since you are still curious. Go ahead. I swallow and reach out, barely grazing the scales, covering his forearm with my fingers. Just like before, they are a little warm, and not entirely unpleasant to touch. Beyond that, I cannot help but notice how the powerful muscles they hide, tensing a little at my touch. His arms are thick and strong, and the straps holding his bracers and plates only serve to accentuate the form. I quickly retract my hand and step back before he realizes I am busy admiring him. Well, it feels strange to me, but there again, I'm covered in skin. That is far from what I am actually thinking, but it seems to satisfy the dragon, who turns away and begins walking again. The rest of the trek goes by in silence. Herschel was not lying, but he said it is not quite a casual stroll in the woods to get to the springs, and I am beginning to worry a little when Val stops, staring up at the sun. He has done this several times now, making sure we are walking in the right direction. Satisfied, he strolls ahead again, but with several steps, he disappears in some thick brush. I try to catch up to him, and as I emerge into another clearing, I gasp in awe. There is indeed a spring in front of us, only Herschel has really downplayed the grandeur of the place. I stand there, gaping at the breathtaking sight in front of me. The water has pooled in a shallow deprecation amidst a rocky basin, a smooth surface glinting merrily in the afternoon sun. Steam rises slowly off the pool, making it plenty obvious that this is indeed a hot spring. In the distance beyond the forest, hills rise steadily toward a great mountain, the peak of which seems to be covered in snow even at this time of the year. More mountains flank it, with waterfalls cascading down the slopes, visible even at this distance. Quite simply, I have never seen anything like this in my life. The image before me is nothing like the cramped, dull village I grew up in, or even the lush but crowded forest that surrounded it. I slowly scan the spring, still marveling at the beauty of the place. It almost feels like someone carved it out by hand, even though the stone is far too irregular to have been shaped by a beastman. Although the locals have left a mark, a short wooden staircase right in front of me that Valos has already used to descend to the edge of the pool. As my eyes find him, I suddenly feel the heat rise to my cheeks. Sam, are you not coming down? While I was staring around in rapt awe, the dragon had apparently been busy taking off his various straps and pieces of armor. With his upper body bare, he is now removing his pants. All thoughts of the astonishing landscape around us evaporate from my mind as if there were puffs of steam drifting over to the spring. In my embarrassment, the dragon notices me looking, and I swear he gives me a smug right as the pants slide all the way down, allowing me a better glimpse of his firm, round buttocks. Immediately, I avert my gaze, my cheeks burning, and I shift my legs so that he does not see me. He does not see my front. He calls out to me, a teasing note in his voice. Sam, are you not coming down? Yes, I was just appreciating the views. It is really beautiful here. I hear the splashing of water, and out of the corner of my eye, see the dragon wade in the pool. Steadying my breathing, I descend the stairs, still not quite looking at Valos, although I'm conscious of his gaze on me. I kick off my boots and take off my shirt, but when my fingers are at my belt buckle, I can't help but look at Valos. He's looking right back at me, his bottom half thankfully obscured by the water in the stream. Let go of the belt, I stand there with a blanket scratching my head. Are you well, Sam? The pool isn't deep. I can see that I'm just... Valos frowns before his face lights up in realization, and he coughs quickly in his hand. Oh, do you want me to turn around? Would that help? Damn it, why am I acting like a side maiden on her wedding night? I would appreciate that. I expect Valos to laugh at my reluctance to undress, but he simply turns away and rests his arms at the edge of the pool. Gritting my teeth, I quickly pull the rest of my clothes off, and without bothering to arrange them in any way, promptly enter the water. Its warmth quickly envelops my body, and despite myself, I let out a sigh of contentment. The center seems to be just deep enough to cover my waist, but I follow Valos' example and sit at the edge instead. Valos sits, turning around slowly. He glances at me just once before throwing his head back and closing his eyes. Whether it's out of a lack of interest or because of my earlier reluctance to be seen, I can't tell. I bask in the warm feeling for a while, with only the splashing of the water and the buzzing of the occasional insect to break the silence. It's so peaceful here, and not surprised Herschel keeps the knowledge of the spring to himself. I wish I had a secluded spot like this back in Alwick, somewhere all to myself, where I could have snuck off to when I was feeling suffocated by the crowded village. Instead, I all but fled the moment I could. I found myself here soaking in a hidden hot spring with a dragon who has similarly left his home in the great dragon empire. a stark contrast to where I was not even a month ago. And despite the circumstances that led me here, I'm not about to complain. I'm enjoying Val's silent company, and not just because he's so nice to look at. There's this nobility to him, and I don't mind the circumstances of his birth, but his bearing, his conduct, the way he has stayed around to help me despite having no obligation to do so. Vals? He opens one eye to look at me. I just wanted to say, I'm really grateful for everything, for saving me, for keeping me safe here, finding a shelter, offering to teach me to fight, all that. You do not need to thank me, but you're welcome. He gives me a warm smile, and as he says the words, I feel the blush creeping up my cheeks yet again. We spend some time properly washing ourselves and settle back into soaking for a while longer. It is nice enough that I would not entirely mind staying until sunset or even later. Who knows, this place could be truly stunning under the moonlight, but as the sun starts to steadily descend toward the horizon, Val's insists we draw off and return to the town. This time around, as we climb onto the dry grass, I manage not to become a stuttering mess. Valos actually offers to let me dress first while he looks away again, but I tell there is no need. Even so, I cannot bring myself to check if he is looking at me at all while I am still naked. I'm awkward enough as it is. I have pulled on my pants and reached down to grab my shirt when Valos suddenly speaks out. Valos, your hands look, strange. Huh? Look down at them and find nothing odd at all. I quirk my eyebrow at the dragon. He's frowning as he stares down my hand. It wasn't wrinkled like that, was it? Oh. I chuckle and hold up my arms so he can see them better. It is just something that happens when you stay in the water for too long. Don't worry. I see. He keeps staring, though, and I grin at him cheekily. Want to find out what it feels like? Can I? I was trying to joke about the way he offered me to feel his scales earlier, but I'm taken back at the enthusiasm in his voice. Sure. I slip my hand and he reaches out, grasping it, then running his fingers over my own, as if trying to feel the bumpy skin that has formed there. With no choice but to stand there, frozen and a little tense, I let him satisfy his curiosity, trying to keep the redness off my face this time. I breathe out in relief when he lets go, although part of me wishes he'd keep his hold together or maybe even move his hand a further. Being stupid again. We finish dressing and finally head out after checking that no trace of our presence here remains. Right before the journey is quiet for the most part, Val seems to be lost in his own thoughts as I keep my focus on the path. The shadows lifting even as we walk. With a few clouds I can glance through, the foliage are painted brilliant hues of pink and orange by the setting sun. As we emerge from among the trees, I pull up my hood again and stick closer to Valos so my presence is less noticeable next to the towering dragon. Once again we pass a few streets we need to navigate without incident and soon I'm knocking at the inn's back door. Oh, you're back. Herschel lets us in, and I nod at him gratefully as we make our way to the main room, which is now empty, thankfully. I assume you found the spot. Easily enough. Thank you, Herschel. That was much needed. It was beautiful. Doc smiles wide at that. Glad you enjoyed it. You came back just in time for dinner, too. I can bring it upstairs if you like. Thank you, Herschel. I can help with that. Shall I come too? No, it's fine, Sam. You can head to the room and rest a little. Alright. As the two head off towards the kitchen, I go down the hallway and rush out to the staircase. I practically run up the stairs, breathing heavily, but sure that nobody paid me any attention. At least I hope so. It was a little difficult to tell. Regardless, I head to my room, glancing briefly behind me to see if anybody's in the hallway. Then I freeze, dumbstruck. There's a red dragon sitting on the stool right in the middle of the room, giving me a wide-eyed stare. Oh, hello. My heart sinks into my throat, but I somehow manage to push down the panic, my hand flying to the back of my belt, where it grips the dagger Valos had given me. His lesson from earlier today flashes through my head with surprising clarity, and my eyes scan a stranger of weapons. He doesn't have any. Heaven knows my reaction. The dragon quickly rises from the stool, which causes me to tense further, but he merely raises his hands up as if to show me he is unarmed. I do not mean you any harm. He trips over the words in a rush to reassure me. I'm still tense, and for a moment I consider calling out to Valos or Herschel, but the red dragon is just standing there, almost naked, appearing as non-threatening as he can, and curiosity overtakes me. Keeping my hand on the hilt of the dagger, I nevertheless close the door behind me. What are you doing here? The stranger exhales slowly, seemingly glad I didn't shout or attack him. He gives me a very nervous smile. My name is Relson. I heard rumors of a dragon who was seen with a human. I was hoping to meet him. I should hope you are said human. I blink at him several times, confused, although I try to carefully assess what I'm seeing right now. The dragon is practically nude, wearing only an odd sort of skirt that conceals his groin and backside, but not much else. He's well built, although not nearly like Valos, but his form still conveys a sense of strength, which is why I have no intention of relaxing quite yet. Besides the fact that he appeared here unannounced, of course. Why? Why? What? I mean, why are you looking for the dragon? I just wanted to see him. My kind is rare in these parts. I peer at him with obvious suspicion, and while he squirms under my scrutiny, the dragon tries to smile awkwardly at me. Does Herschel know you are here? Herschel? The innkeeper. Oh, no, I snuck in. Furrowing my brows, I glance at the window. It's open, the shutter swaying slowly in the cool evening breeze. Shifting my gaze back to Relson, I tap the floor with my foot. Why? He shrugs, his awkward smile slipping from his snout. Don't know, easier this way. I don't know how to respond to that, and before I can think of another question, I notice that Relson is eyeing me up, not unlike what I was doing not a few moments ago. Less of a concern and more of a curiosity as far as I can tell, though. So you're the human, then? Yes. Recognizing the look, I don't even have to ask if he has seen a human before. Rosa gave me that exact same look a few days ago when we first met. Wonder how meeting me is as unusual for these dragons as meeting them is for me. Despite what Valos had said yesterday, however, I didn't really expect to see another dragon here, and so soon. What is a human doing with a dragon? The question takes me by surprise. Tilted my head at him and take a moment before I reply. We are traveling together. Oh, where? Why? Why do you want to know? He narrows his eyes a little, and I start getting nervous again. Can you say that you are safe? What do you mean by that? It's a simple question, human. I swallow, utterly unsure where he's taking this conversation. Am I safe? Yes, no, maybe. I'm still in a settlement of beastmen who may be hostile to my very presence. On the other hand, Valos seems determined to safeguard me. Besides, what business is it of this red-scaled dragon? I'm fine. Why do you hesitate? Listen, Relson, I think it's best if you leave and come back when Valos is aware that you want to meet him. Valos, so that's his name. Relson nods to himself before his gaze snaps back to me. I just want to know where he's taking you. He is not taking me anywhere. You said you were traveling together. I did. The dragon seems to be getting irritated. He takes a step towards me and tense all over again. Where? I take a step back at his approach, suddenly conscious of how small I am in comparison. I have a dagger, but he is covered in scales. He looks stronger, and he can breathe fire. Nowhere in particular. He stops, tilting his head to the side to regard me, eyes narrowed. Before he can say anything else, however, the door swings open. I stumble into the hallway, almost falling before I'm caught by familiar hands. There's a single tense moment of silence as I stare up at Valos, while Valos stares straight ahead at the intruder. Then, in a blur, Valos moves, whizzing past me and into the room, his arm slamming into Welson, carrying him forward. Valos slams him into the wooden wall with a loud thud. With his elbow at Welson's throat, he snarls at the red dragon. I stand in the doorway, frozen. I watch as Welson struggles against Valos' weight, trying to push him off in vain. When he attempts to raise one of his arms up, Valos swiftly uses his own free arm to pin it to the wall as well. All the red dragon seems to accomplish is to aggravate Valos even more. While I can't see his face right now, his posture is stiff, and from Welson's obviously pained expression, it is easy to guess that he's pressing the elbow hard against the other dragon's throat. All this transpires over a few seconds, but that's all it takes for Welson to stop struggling. Letting his arms hang limply by his side, he speaks, with voice strained. I'm not. And that's all he manages to get out, because the next thing out of his mouth is a rasping noise as Valos pushes his elbow even further, cutting off his windpipe. At this rate, he might strangle Welson. I'm just standing there, dumbfounded at what's happening. I had been wary of Valos before when we first met, but now I am starting to be a little scared. I can't even begin guessing the reasons for this reaction. Did he recognize Welson as some kind of enemy? I am unharmed, even if the red one was a little aggressive there at the end, so surely that can't be the reason. I finally had found my voice. Valos, calm down. He hasn't done anything to harm me. There's a brief instance where I fear he won't pay me any mind, but then I see the muscles on his back tensed up and both of us were strained, relaxed even so slightly. He pulls back and Welson takes in a shuddering breath, blinking rapidly. The two stare at each other, neither moving. You can let him go. He's unarmed, Valos. I don't mean either you any harm. Again, Valos stands unmoving, as if weighing the words he just heard, before abruptly releasing his hold on Welson entirely and straightening up. The red dragon sways in place for a moment as if he's about to fall down, but manages to stay upright. He rolls his neck, eyeing both of us wearily. As Valos takes a few steps back, arms crossed, it doesn't escape me that he is still shielding me. He glances over the shoulder at me before addressing Welson. You're lucky I don't take the presence of intruders lightly. You better have a very good reason for sneaking up on us. Welson takes a moment to look at me and nod in what I presume to be gratitude for my intervention. I can't help but wonder if Valos would have actually killed him if I hadn't been here. What if he had come upstairs and I went to get dinner from Herschel instead? Or maybe he would react much more calmly. Valos does seem overprotective of me. Peace, brother. I really mean what I said. I am not here to get into a fight or to cause harm otherwise. A growl rises from Valos' throat. For your sake, I hope that is true. Welson raises both of his arms up. It is, as the human told you, I am unarmed. No weapons hidden or otherwise. What he's wearing is certainly not good for hiding any weaponry. I think to myself without vocalizing it. Valos scrutinizes Welson with his gaze, then finally nods. What are you doing here? I have extended no invitation to anyone to seek me out. That's why I decided to find you in this manner, which was clearly a mistake. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. I don't need your apologies. I told you to explain why you're here. Welson glances at me again, my surprise at the way Valos' acting must be obvious on my face, but if Wilson has never met a human before, he might not be able to read my expression. Regardless, he promptly returns his attention to Valos. It's just been a very long time since I met another of our kind. It's really as simple as that. I heard there was a dragon in the area, and I wanted to meet you. I'm looking for someone, and I wondered if you might know something. The local folks said you are avoiding most of them, though, so I figured it would be easier to just come unannounced. You are wrong. Clearly. Before either says any more, I hear footsteps on the staircase. I'm standing right in the middle of the hallway. Before I can dart into the room, however, I see Hersa appear there, frowning at me. Is everything in order? Hersa walks up to me, then stares into the room, wide-eyed. I wasn't aware we had another guest. He's no guest. He snuck through the window like a thief. I'm not. Another growl from Valos causes Wilson to quiet down. So I called the town guard. There's no need for any of that, good man. I'm not a thief. I'm not an assassin. I'm just a traveler who wanted to talk. Please. Despite the odd way he went about, I don't think Wilson's being insincere. Not that I know much about thievery or assassination or any of that shady stuff, but if he really wanted to hurt me, he would have done so before Valos ever got here. Suppose he might have wanted to harm Valos instead, but no, that makes no sense either. Certainly not unarmed like this, consider the difference in their strength as I just witnessed. I don't think it's lying, Valos. We were just talking before you, Also, however, doesn't seem to be taking any of this well. The usually jovial innkeeper is frowning deeply at the intruder. Are you sure he wasn't looking for something? He could be a spy for the Empire, for all we know. Wilson is beginning to sound exasperated, even though he keeps glancing warily at Valos when he replies. I'm not a spy either. Valos stares hard at him. The red dragon swallows nervously, but doesn't make any moves otherwise. I don't think you have to worry on that front, Hersa. This is no Imperial agent, if you say so. I'm certain. Still, if you please, I would prefer if you left my inn right now. I can't have strangers sneaking in through the windows. Wilson's shoulders slump, and he looks to Valos. Can we speak? I just have some questions. It won't take long, I promise. The innkeeper is right. You need to leave. Wilson looks like he's about to say more, but then decides against it. With another nod to me, he follows Hersa out into the hallway and down the stairs. There's a brief moment of silence as both Valos and I stand there, waiting for the sounds of their footsteps to fade. Then abruptly, Val rushes to the window, sticking his head out to look around before slamming it shut. Take a peek into the hallway, then slowly close the door, wait for that nobody else came to check out what the commotion was about. The dragon is clearly agitated. He starts pacing the room, his brows furrowed. I sit down on the bed, not wanting to say anything yet. As the silence stretches on, Valos finally turns to me, his expression softening. I'm sorry, Sam. I raise my eyebrow at him, surprised that he's apologizing over his reaction, but Valos continues speaking. Something like this shouldn't have happened. I let my guard down. I'll need to keep a watch out. Right, it wasn't that bad, was it? I mean, Wilson was unarmed. There was plenty of time for him to attack me if he wanted to, but he didn't. First of all, unarmed doesn't mean he's not dangerous, far from it. More importantly, we do not know what he really wants. He could be in danger. He could be a danger to you. To me, what could he have against me? What does a rhino have against you? He has a point there, but I don't think this is remotely similar to that time in the forest. Well, you and Hersa kicked him out before he had a chance to explain himself. Valos raised a hand in the air dismissively. He had every reason to lie about getting caught. I don't think he was lying, really. What else could he have been doing here if not looking for you? How would I know? And what does it matter? The important thing is that he could be far more dangerous than he let on. I think we should get him to come back here so we can find out who he's looking for. Velos regards me incredulously. Why? I'm curious. It must be important to him if he risked sneaking to see you just so you wouldn't avoid him. You're curious, that's it? Yes. It is difficult to articulate what I'm feeling to the dragon right now. Some of those I don't intend to share at all, like how his overprotectiveness is becoming a little frustrating, or not even that, but how I just like feeling like I have become his responsibility, some odd man-shaped burden he needs to carry around him now. A time when others could order me around ostensibly for my own benefit is in the past. Even if Velos thinks he's doing something for my safety, I will have to say in it. This particular discussion might be best left for later. First, I want to resolve this Wilson question. I try my best to put my thoughts into words to make him understand, hoping that he'll hear what I'm saying. Listen, fellas, I know it hasn't gone according to plan so far, but I left my village so I could experience something more than a quaint, boring life. Because I was curious about the world. Here I meet another dragon who is clearly searching for something. Why wouldn't I know what that is? Velos has me fixing his gaze as he thinks about what I said, although I can tell that he isn't convinced at all. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised by that, but I really am curious about whatever danger the dragon sees in the situation. My instinct tells me it can't be that bad. If it is, I'll be alert for it. It won't take me by surprise like that bandit in the forest. And going outside, I said, keep watch and make sure it really is safe. You should sleep while I do that. It's been a long day. Velos, I will ask Herschel to look for Wilson if you don't. His nostrils flare, but then he closes his eyes for a moment to calm himself down before brushing past me and open the door. Fine, we can listen to what he wants. You will satisfy your curiosity, and he can leave knowing we heard him out. I take in a deep breath and then slowly exhale. My irritation must be plain on my face now because Velos simply stands in the doorway, staring at me, instead of leaving to do whatever he intends to do. Are you upset with me? You didn't need to attack like that. You were practically ready to kill him. I thought he had assaulted you. If he paused for a moment, you would have seen that I was completely fine. Velos' shoulders droop, and he doesn't quite meet my eyes when he speaks. It's as I told you earlier today. In a fight, even a single moment of hesitation can mean defeat. This wasn't a fight, Velos. How many times do I have to repeat that? Yes, I know. Yeah, I understand I could have handled this better. Alright. With that done, he lingers for another moment, as if he means to say something else, but decides against it. The door swings shut, and I'm left alone again. Looking out the window yields nothing interesting. The townsfolk are largely gone, and I spot no sign of Wilson. Not unwise of him not to linger, given the reception he received from Velos. It really was foolish of him to sneak like that, but even I was taken aback at the way Velos reacted. Maybe he knows much more about the dangers this kind present, and so he could have told me, though, specifically if he wanted to convince me against speaking with Elsa again. But he didn't. I sighed and turned to undress. Velos wasn't wrong when he said I must be tired at least. In truth, I'm exhausted, and sleep is most welcome. I just hope Wilson is still around by then. I recline in my bed and fall off to sleep.